Hello, I'm Victoria Hamilton-Barritt, and you're listening to Spotlight Podcast, brought to you by londontheatre.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spotlight Podcast with londontheatre.co.uk. I'm your host, Will Longman, and today's guest is the brilliant Victoria Hamilton-Barritt. She's currently appearing in the Young Vic's production of Death of a Salesman, which is transferred to the West End's Piccadilly Theatre. Victoria's had a very accomplished musical career, appearing in shows such as In the Heights, A Chorus Line, Murder Ballad, Flashdance, but I was pretty surprised to learn that Death of a Salesman is actually her first performance in a West End play. We chatted about that and seeing the show at the Young Vic before she was cast in it. We talked about the play, her training as a zookeeper before she became an actor, and workshopping Andrew Lloyd Webber's brand new Cinderella musical in which she played the evil stepmother. But that's enough from me. Let's chat to Victoria.
So what are we today? We're Tuesday. We've been here for a week and a half, have we? 2 weeks now, including the teching process and then opening. I think it's 2.5 weeks, I think, yeah.
Okay. Do you like making the dressing room your own, adding like personal touches?
Do you know, I think once upon a time when I started off in this career, should I say, 20 years ago, I would decorate the room, and fill it with photos and things, that I felt that would make me feel comfortable. But now, as you can see, it's pretty basic, and I've just got, look, there's a toothbrush, hair removing cream, a hairbrush. But I do have a little scribbled out postcard from my kids, so I guess like little poignant things like that, but I haven't even got a photo. I was thinking I need to get some photos in here, but I mean it's a small room, so I don't want to kind of clutter it, because then that means I'm cluttering my mind as well. I do I'm definitely better when things are, the surfaces are clear, And
hopefully the construction work outside will stop soon.
Yeah.
Maybe not today, but
so,
at some
no,
point in the run.
I don't think so until like the next 5 years. What they're doing there is quite extreme. I got the best view from my room.
So you touched a little bit on the early parts of your career.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but was one of your very first jobs a production of Oh What a Night on tour?
Yes, I'm so happy you brought this up. I loved that show.
Yeah.
So, hang on. I was 18 years old, and it was 2001. And that was my first ever gig, and I felt physically sick. I've never been so nervous in my entire life, where people thought actually I had a problem in the first week because I couldn't speak to anyone and I couldn't eat anything. But it was just sheer nerves. I was 18, I was a baby. It was my first gig, and I'm playing supporting female lead in this incredible show, which I remember seeing at the Hammersmith Apollo on a school trip, So it was just, I absolutely loved that show. And Kid Creole from Kid Creole and the Coconuts was in it,
Wow.
So like working alongside him, it was just, it was the best start to my career.
And not only that, you were touring all over, including a month in Monte Carlo.
Yeah, a month in Monte Carlo.
That must have been pretty great as a
No, it's fantastic, isn't
young
it?
startup.
Who's not going to like Monte Carlo? And I've been back twice since, with other shows. So there's the Sporting Club in Monte Carlo, which is like a really extravagant venue. Not practical when it comes to dancing on a floor, because it's a glass floor with lights, disco lights. It's like a throwback from the 80s. It's fantastic. But what happens of an evening when the show begins, they'll open the roof so you can look up at the stars.
Wow.
But then you've got this like glass, well lit disco floor, and then the humidity would just make it an absolute ice skating rink. So it was actually very kind of interesting come showtime, because everyone was sliding everywhere. But what an amazing experience. But people would just sit there eating their food, watching a show, and it wasn't the kind of typical audience. It was just like, it was very bizarre, because they're having like 3-course meal, and we're putting on a full-on musical. But Monaco and Oh What a Night, I've got a lot of thanks to Anne Vosser and Gary Lloyd and Kim Gavin for starting me off in my little career.
That was a good setup for your career, so
Completely.
a good experience.
Yeah, it threw me in the deep end of what the industry was really like, because you don't learn this sort of stuff in college. The only way you get a feeling of the industry is working in the industry. And Oh What a Night really set me up,
What were some of those first things then that you thought, oh, no one told me about this when I was studying?
paying tax. Flipping hell! Oh my gosh! Why didn't we have any tax lessons at school? If I remember, I think we had one, and I remember the occasion because it must have been just one because I actually remember the occasion. That sort of thing, and also just grafting. Like doing 8 shows a week. It's intense. It's full on, especially in back in the day when I used to be kicking my legs all over the place, I don't dance so much now, of course, but back in those days it was full on, so you had to look after yourself and all these just that kind of having that way of thinking of taking it seriously, taking it very seriously, and doing the right thing that's going to help you within your week, doing 8 shows a week.
So since those kind of early days, your career has been focused on musicals.
Yeah.
You always had that great love of musicals growing up?
No. And I'm one of these people, I actually don't know any musicals unless I've been in them. Mm-hmm. I'm not someone who goes looking, through the internet, searching the internet to find out the latest musicals that are being released off Broadway or wherever with new writing, and also musicals that have been, like classics. I'm not particularly... for myself so interested, but I absolutely love being in musicals because they're the most fun. Mm-hmm. They really are. They're so much fun, and it's served me so well over the last 20 years, and I'm really grateful for it. But I was asked this question, how many musicals I have on my iPod or something, and I was like, I don't actually have one. And then I did see actually on an old iPod that I had Bat Boy, because I really liked Bat Boy because I found it quite unusual and just different and a little bit more obscure, especially around the time when it came about. Mm-hmm. And that interested me a lot, and I think I actually know the words word from word, or I did back 20 years ago anyway. But musicals, I absolutely love performing in them, but as a hobby, not so much for me, and they never have been, and I think people are always a bit horrified when they find that out.
Well, I love that though, because it means that you're approaching every job you do with fresh eyes, You're not wanting to perform it like the person you've watched on YouTube do it 20 years ago. Everything's... Yeah. It's how it feels to you, how it feels
to you, and I think... And I also think that's a wise thing, like you're saying, how YouTube research and stuff when you're about to maybe come in for... or replace someone in a role and whatnot. I do like to stay away from that. I like to know the story. I like to know who the characters are. I like to know the character breakdown of who these people are that I would be playing. But I don't... I do think it is really important, yes, for finding it for yourself, and not being a clone or replica of someone once before you.
But then looking at your CV, is this one of the first West End plays that you've done?
Yeah.
That's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, this is a big deal for me. Yeah. There was one point in my early part of my career where I was doing jukebox musical after jukebox musical, where every jukebox musical that was coming to London, I was always being called in, because it's almost like I had this label across my forehead saying, Vix can do that. There's nothing wrong with it, and I had so much fun doing shows like Saturday Night Fever, Fame, Flashdance, all these wonderful shows that, served me really well in life, and I'm so grateful to this day. But I was doing so much of it. It was so much of it. And although it was great, I knew that I didn't want to be continuing to do this sort of thing for the rest of my life. I knew that there was more strings to my bow. I knew that I could do more, but it's just being given opportunity to. Paul Kerrison cast me in Gypsy at Curve Theatre, and I think for me that was the real kind of transitional process. Okay. Where I was like, wow, okay, I'm actually stepping out of this now. People are, they're giving me an opportunity and a chance to express myself and see me in a different light. So once I got that show, I think mentally it really set me up with my plans and motives, and I'd say definitely over the last couple of years I haven't been doing really big productions. I've been doing small intimate theatres, but focusing on new writing, new works, and also pieces and material that is definitely not the conventional, that's not the ordinary. And I've been so lucky that I have had that opportunity to be cast in those roles, in those shows, and having a chance to break out of the mainstream, really. So coming in to do this play, I was incredibly overwhelmed. I was incredibly overwhelmed because I've been waiting for such an opportunity for so long, and Marion Elliott and Miranda Cromwell casting me in this, just they seriously, they made my year.
Did you see the production of the Young Vic?
I did. I did, and I was so in awe that when I found out I had the audition, I went to the audition, and then I found out I got the gig. I was incredibly happy, but I was so nervous to start rehearsals, and I think had I not seen it at the Young Vic, I probably would have been a little bit more cool about the whole thing. But no, I mean, I just had a bad stomach for the first week of rehearsals because I was so overwhelmed and so happy and proud to be there, but just in awe of Wendell Pierce, of Charity Clark, and just the whole company that was at the Young Vic. I was just in absolute awe and couldn't believe my luck. Even now, I keep on having that kind of intruder? What do they call it?
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. I have it, and I'm like sometimes just putting on my eyebrows, looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, how did I get here, working amongst these people? And also because I do in the bits that I do. On stage, in the show as the woman, I'm working very close alongside Wendell, and it's a very extraordinary thing for my little for my mind, for my little brain, and I feel so much gratitude to be here, and I definitely hope that this is a new direction for me, because I'd only ever done another play before, and it was a short play at the new Diorama Theatre. So, I definitely feel I'm where I want to be and where I need to be at this moment.
I was going to ask you, can it be quite tricky to embed into a cast of a production that's already been on? You might have this close-knit group of people that, have the production set in their way, and then you've seen it and putting yourself in that must be quite tough. Yeah,
no, it is. And because it was so impressive as well, you kind of think, oh, gosh, what can I bring to this, that's going to be... that's new, that's different, or even as good, even in just the little bit that I have to do, But it's just it was. You didn't see it at the Young Vic? No, I mean it was incredibly outstanding, and I'm so thrilled. I think I'm probably one of the most thrilled thrilled I am that I've ever felt in this entire last 20 years.
And you're working with Marianne.
Yeah.
What's that been like in the rehearsal room?
She's just amazing, and it took a little while for me to get my head around that, and the same with Miranda as well, and just the way they work and their process on how they do things, and just to be part of that and being in the room where it happens, so to speak, is it's really fortunate, to be in a process, but to be in a different process to what I'm used to, because I guess when you're doing a musical, there's so many other different elements, which maybe take priority over other elements that are in when you're working on a play. It's just amazing to make the comparison of the two different processes, So it's really eye-opening, and I'm learning an awful lot. Yeah. I'm learning so much, and they're amazing women to be working alongside. Yeah.
You mentioned that maybe musicals, you don't have an interest in them outside of your work. Maybe is it the same with plays, or?
Do you know what I mean? Like nowadays, because I have two children, so I have a 3.5-year-old and 1.5-year-old. So, like getting to the theatre is like a pretty impossible task. So the fact that I went to see Death of a Salesman at the Young Vic was just a bit of a miracle in itself, really. And I took myself, I was rehearsing for the View upstairs that went to the Soho Theatre, and I knew it was the last week, and because we were rehearsing on Union Street, so close to the theatre, I thought, I just need to see the show. I'm gonna go and see it, and so I did. But that was like I very rarely get the chance and the opportunity to go to the theatre, and it really is such a treat when I do go. Yes, I love seeing plays, and yes, I love seeing musicals in equal measure as well, because whenever I see a musical, it's probably because I've got a friend you know,
Yeah.
in the musical, and I've had you know, if I have the opportunity to go and be able to support them, you know, but more recently, I'm doing a bit of a juggle with my life, so unfortunately I have missed quite a few productions. A lot of my pals have been, but you know, I guess that's just how it is, isn't it? You know.
Even so, you mentioned your 3.5-year-old.
My 3.5-year-old.
I am assuming that is the child you were pregnant with while you were in the Heights.
That's right. Yeah.
That's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges of doing such a major production like that while you were carrying a child?
Well, I previously did In the Heights at the Southwark Playhouse, and that show is the sole piece of to my life. I always will have so much love for that show, and thanks to Paul Taylor Mills and Tristan Baker, I absolutely had the best time on that show, and playing the role of Daniela, I think, has been an absolute highlight of my life, of my career, should I say. So when I returned to play Daniela at the King's Cross, I actually felt I enjoyed the role even more. I think it gave it more weight to the part that she was pregnant, and quite heavily pregnant, as you could see. I mean, I really did grow in the production in the time that I was there. But I felt like it actually, for me, it made Daniela's story more heartbreaking at the end, when she had to leave her salon and pack up and move out to the burbs, you know, because it just made it more... It made it more, you know, tragic and more obvious, you know, as a visual, I guess, heartbreaking. Yeah. But that show, oh my gosh, I would, even to this day, I would drop anything to jump back into that show. I absolutely had a ball both times at the Southwark Playhouse and the King's Cross Theatre, and would do it again in a heartbeat.
I'm actually interviewing David tomorrow.
Are you?
For Anne Juliet.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! I really hope I get to see David in that. I've got a few friends actually in that. I'd love to go and see it.
I saw a workshop production of it about 9 months ago.
Oh yeah.
It's brilliant.
Is it really?
It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the music is incredible music, isn't it? And the cast, just looking at the cast, is just absolutely insane. Yeah. I saw they did a EPK, and I just had a little opportunity to see that on the internet. But no, David in that show was just fantastic, and it was really great to do both shows, different versions of it with him, and he got an Olivier for that as well. Yeah. He did. Yeah, no, the whole thing was just wonderful, and hats off to Sam McKay as well, because he is in the Heights. We got to remember that.
Speaking briefly of motherhood,
yeah.
There's a question I wanted to ask you. I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to tell me.
Okay.
You did a workshop of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella as the stepmother.
Yeah.
How was that? Is there anything you're allowed to tell me about that?
Yeah. It was amazing, and I love what Andrew has done. I think this is just an amazing show to bring back for himself. The music is absolutely fantastic, and I really say that with my hand on my heart, that the music is outstanding, and very Andrew, which is, thank God, because that's what we want to hear. You know, you want to hear what he's famous for, and it's brilliant, and it will be a fantastic show with the direction that it goes in. And I absolutely got so much out of creating the stepmother. It's just a lot of fun, and the cast that they pulled together for that was just absolutely brilliant. It really, really was, and it was an incredible audience, because we had so many shows. I think we had 4 shows, and you know, Joan Collins is sitting there, and then we've got, like, you know, I mean, it was just a very kind of out of body experience, but they didn't tell us, so we're like looking out, and we're seeing Michael Caine sitting there, just looking up, smiling, thrilled with his life, you know. It was a very bizarre time, and very intense, because I think, was it a week or 2 weeks? I can't remember. It was a really short workshop, but it was so intense. So we just felt like we were really part of it, you know, in the developing process. So it's exciting times, I think, with Cinderella and the plans that they have for that show.
I can imagine that must have been a mega role to play.
It was a mega role to play, and I loved her. I loved it, and the music was just fantastic, but the writing as well. The writing was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, a lot of excitement, I think, around Cinderella from whenever that will peer its head, you know.
Hopefully someday. What did Michael Caine think? Did you glean anything
Oh
from
gosh,
him?
I don't know. No, I didn't. I think I did a runner like I always do after a show. I just just leave the theatre really quickly and just get on a train and go home. A lot of the company did speak to Michael Caine, and I think he really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Joan Collins loved it. She really loved it. And of course, like the kind of the inspiration I got to play the stepmother was very much, you know, moulded around her.
Yeah.
You know, and I think she certainly appreciated it and saw it in me. So she kept on saying, "Oh, that's me, darling. That's me." Look, like, okay, see that there? And I could see her nodding. So you see that there? That's me, darling. That's me. But yeah, no, it was great. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of exciting new shows that are going to be coming around in the next couple of years. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, hats off and to new writing and new productions. You know,
New British musicals.
new
which
British
we always want.
musicals. Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it seems like a lot of musicals are being imported from Broadway.
They are.
Like,
Yeah.
I think Hanson opens tonight.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Which is super exciting, and it'll
Yeah.
run for years and years and years. But it's just a shame that there hasn't really been a big British musical hit like that for a little while.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the support over here is very much different than over the States. I think in States they really kind of rejoice in supporting new musicals, new writing,
Yeah.
new theatre. Over here, I do think we really love to see, you know, without mentioning names, but you know those big old up and running factory shows that keep on reappearing. I think we love to see a certain show, and you know, for the 10th time. It's just it's a very different audience, I feel, over here.
Yeah.
So hopefully the punters' thinking will kind of move with the times. I
Yeah.
think in America they're definitely a little bit more forward thinking when it comes to appreciating new creative writing
Yeah.
than over here.
But then
you know?
what we do nail is plays like Death of a Salesman.
Absolutely.
And the countless Ibsens and Chekhovs that we have at the moment.
Absolutely, and that is for sure, definitely. And I think with Death of the Salesman, I don't think this show can be done at least for another 10 years. Not after when you see it. I think you'll. I hope that you agree.
Yeah.
You know, I think how it's been put together and the ideas around it, and without giving too much away, because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. But it's definitely being seen with new eyes and a new light, in a very powerful, I think much more powerful way than any other time it's probably ever been done before.
Hello, me again. I'm about to put Victoria under pressure with our quick-fire questions, as we always do, but I did feel a little bit bad this week as she seemed slightly nervous, and she was such a warm and calming interviewee, but that's what we do to all our guests on this podcast, put them under pressure and get some answers that you wouldn't get anywhere else. First, I wanted to make sure I reminded you that you can catch Victoria in Death of a Salesman right now at the Piccadilly Theatre, and tickets are available at londontheatre.co.uk. But now, on with the show, and straight into those quick-fire questions. What's your favourite ever production?
Oh my gosh, I was going to say something ridiculous. I don't know. Famous production ever that I've seen.
Yep.
In the Heights. I was in it. I haven't seen it.
That counts.
I've never seen it.
You've seen it from a unique point of view. What's your interval drink?
Oh gosh, gin and tonic.
The last TV show you binged?
Oh, I don't get to watch TV. What's that? The Breaking Bad. It wasn't at all.
Role you've always wanted to play?
Oh, but I've already said it. I did
Yeah.
say Sally Bowles in
Yeah.
Cabaret, yeah.
What would you be if you weren't an actor?
What would I what?
Be if you weren't an actor?
Oh, I'd work in London Zoo. I worked in London Zoo for 4 years, so I'll probably still be there.
Your most memorable performance?
Oh, my most memorable performance?
Yeah.
Flipping hell, I don't know. Oh gosh, maybe Daniela in the Heights. Oh no, maybe Murder Ballad. Sorry, Murder Ballad, because I got Olivier nominated.
Your stage idol?
Oh gosh. Oh, I don't really know. Wendell Pierce.
The most used app on your phone?
Mush. It's like a mum app. It's basically like Tinder for mums, where you chat up other mums and they poke you, swipe left and right. Yeah.
What's your pre-show meal?
Oh God, noodles.
And your biggest passion besides performing?
Oh, my family. Yeah, children, all the kids, my husband.
Perfect. I stopped that at 1 minute 30, which isn't bad.
Gosh,
it's not bad.
That wasn't too bad. I should have said Death of a Salesman. It's the best production I'd ever seen. Because I think it is.
That would have been a good advert for
Instead I said, yeah. Instead I said In the Heights. And I've never seen it.
You've seen it from a unique point of view.
I've seen it from In the Wings.
Yeah, that counts. You worked at London Zoo for 4 years.
I did.
What did you do?
Just shoveled poo. Mainly. I worked in the children's zoo.
Mm-hmm.
So in the children's zoo you have the pigs, you have donkeys, you have goats, you have like the little petting area, the petting zoo area, and the pigs, they were awesome. And then some things like snakes, tarantulas, like are indoors. There's like a little room you can go in, and budgies and stuff like that. So yeah, I worked in the children's zoo.
Lovely.
I worked there for 4 years. I started off with like a whole load of kids, and I was the only one to stay because in the winter time it gets really cold,
mm-hmm.
and you have to, you're working outside, come rain or shine, and you literally have frostbite on your fingers and your toes, and you can no longer feel those body parts anymore. But and I worked there it ended up being 4 years.
Wow.
And they wanted me to stay on, but I couldn't because I was training, and I couldn't give up my weekends anymore because
mm-hmm.
I was doing extra activity in those areas. And so I gave it up, and I do think I would be still, because they wanted me to be a zookeeper, because I said I want to train to be a zookeeper.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that quite a big call then, to decide, do you take, because I'm sure acting would have been the riskier option, and zookeeping would have been the safer
probably
one.
would have been more stable, wouldn't it? Do you know, it was just a passion. I just loved animals. Growing up as a kid, I was a bit, definitely, I'm a bit of a loudmouth now, I suppose, but like as a kid I was more of an introvert and very painfully shy. It was really awful to watch,
mm-hmm.
I was a very shy person, so I guess I got enjoyment more out of the likes of being around animals. Our own home was a zoo. We always had 2 cats, 2 dogs,
mm-hmm.
and a couple of hamsters around the place. It was a zoo in itself. So yeah, being around animals always, and nature, wildlife, just made me feel really at peace and just comfortable.
Have you ever worked with any animals on stage?
I have. In Gypsy. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was honestly, they say never work with animals or children, and it was both. Gypsy with both. It was of course I just loved it, but there was one dog, because we had to have what's the little dog's name? Mama Rose's, is it Chow, what's the flipping name? Charmaine? Is Charmaine or Chi? Chow Wow. Oh, I can't remember.
You might have said chow mein because you just
it
looked at your little box of
my noodles as I said chow mein. But it's like a name like Chow or Chow mein. And this dog was literally, it was so old, I think it was 16 years old, and it was like a little Yorkshire Terrier, tiny little miniature one.
Uh-huh.
And it was on its last legs, and everyone's looking at this dog, and Mama Rose is walking around Carolina Corner with this dog, and I'm like, everyone's just worrying about this dog, and I think after the show had come to an end, I think it passed away something like a month later, or something like that. But he was happy as Larry to sit there and, I think he's a toy dog, pocket dog, where he just loves being picked up, I have a Chihuahua, so she just loves being held, she loves being picked up, so I know that's, it's not cruel, because they actually just enjoy being, held. But yeah, that was hilarious. And we had some giant dogs as well, because there was that the bedroom scene where all the kids are running around everywhere and the dogs are running around. I remember we were going to get a sheep, but then something to do with health and safety, they couldn't bring the sheep on stage, so that was that idea went out the window in the end. And I had a toy sheep instead. I
went backstage once at the Royal Opera House.
Yeah.
They were doing an opera, and there was like a flock of sheep on stage, and they had like the stage lift where they lifted everything up, and they closed it off, and that was where they kept the sheep.
That's amazing. Oh, that's amazing.
Weird.
There's a lot of poo when it comes to something like that, whereas dogs are trained generally, so that they, they're potty trained. But yeah, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And apparently sheep get scared. There was the one scene they were on for they kind of projected loads of birds over the stage, and apparently sheep are terrified of birds, so these sheep immediately just like emptied their bowels on stage.
Yeah, of course, that's it. And that's why you shouldn't work with sheep.
Yeah, forget animals, just in particular sheep.
That's it, and you saw that in live theatre. Brilliant.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Wendell as your stage idol. Was that an answer out of pressure?
No, it wasn't. I'm just totally taken by this gentleman.
Yeah.
He's so incredibly smart. He's just off the scale, really. That's why I was so nervous to work with him. I really was. But he was just so kind and generous, and he just put me at ease, you know. And just really, just gracious, and just such a cool dude, such a cool guy. But yeah, totally idolising him, you know. Even now, like when we've only been up and running, you know, doing the previews for the last couple of days, but I've got the best seats in the house because I sit in the wings and I get to watch him and Sharon D. Clarke, you know, just be incredible, the two of them together. But yeah, no, I mean, how he carries the show is just something to be admired, and just within myself, just to kind of just to look up to, you know, because he really is something. He really is incredible. He's sensational. He's not good. He's beyond good. You know, he's just absolutely bleeding marvellous. And I'm learning so much working with him, alongside him, but just watching him and just seeing the way his brain, you know, just works through it all and thinks, and just, his choices that he makes. And he's just smart. Just a smart man. Just incredibly smart. And just, I'm just so taken by him.
How have your first few previews at the Piccadilly been going?
Really good, yeah. You know, really well. And been full houses as well.
Yeah.
I guess that's... I think we were actually quite surprised, because for the previews, that's not necessarily the case that you're going to have a full house every night. It's people getting their act together, you know, to go to the theatre and jump to the opportunity to see the previews. But yeah, we've just been packed out with wonderful audiences, really amazing crowds. So no, it's gone absolutely brilliant so far, you know. So before you know it, will be over in a flash. So I'm just trying to enjoy it whilst it's running till January the 4th, you know.
So come and see it.
That's the answer. Come and see it. Oh my gosh, please come and see it.
Perfect. Well, thank you for chatting to me.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you for having me.
And that's that. Thanks again to Victoria for joining me on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed chatting. Don't forget, Death of a Salesman is at the Piccadilly Theatre, and tickets are available at londontheatre.co.uk. That's all for this week, but we'll be back next week with another West End guest on Wednesday. For now, bye-bye.